So, for those of you that have been watching my channel, 2 weeks ago, I think it was 2 weeks ago, I gave my son a hatchet, a backpack, and some other stuff for his birthday. And he's been addicted to hunting fatwood ever since he found some. He's been out practically every day. His wife tells me he's crazy. He's been out in blizzards, neck effect snowstorms, all the stuff that we've been having going on in New York State. He's out there. And she shows me pictures of him crawling around in the snow, chopping at pine trees, looking for fatwood. They came over last night. Here's my stalactites hanging out in the backyard today. It's -9 right now. And he said, I'm coming over, I got some solid fatwood logs. Now, the title of this video is going to be Beginner Mistakes. And what happened was, while he was out in the cold and the dark or whatever, he had come across a fallen pine, found a branch that he could chop up with a hatchet, and he brought it here. And he brought it in two 2-foot sections, I think it was. And of course we started cutting it with a saw to cut it in half and take a look at the inside of it, as it was kind of hard for him to do with it being so cold outside. And I told him right away, I said, he said, it's funny, it doesn't really smell like fatwood. Pieces of it would, like where the branch touched, the small branch touched the trunk. There's the usual fatwood that's in that little crease right there. But he kept saying, it doesn't smell like fatwood, it doesn't smell like fatwood. And I said, was it in water? The tree that you found, was it laying in water? And he said, no, it's just snow. Well, once we started cutting it open, it actually had ice inside of it. So at one point in time, the log that he found was laying in water. And what happened was, it soaked up the water, and because of that, it was very heavy. He thought it was fatwood, and it also takes on an orangey color on the inside because of the water, which also makes it look like fatwood when in fact it's not. So let's go take a look at some of the stuff that he brought over last night. And he had high expectations that he had found a large chunk of solid fatwood, when in fact it was just waterlogged wood. So let's go take a look. The main pieces that he brought over, and we started cutting them into smaller manageable pieces, and of course he immediately got his hatchet out and started splitting them. And like I said, when we got some of them open, discovered that they in fact were waterlogged. That's why they were heavy, and he was very disappointed. And then he had this little bag full of smaller items, which he thought were fatwood again, and I'll show you why up close. But as we started going through it, discovered that in fact it was minimal fatwood. Now, when he first got here, I had a big tree saw, which I have since given to him. And I took some of those logs and I cut slices off of them. And they're very wet. Now you can see the orange color, which is why he thought they were, solid fatwood. Outside in the dark, this is what he thought he was looking at. So when he came in the house and I looked at it and I said, well, let's cut a couple slices off and do the test. Now I don't know if the camera's going to pick this up. There we go. And there's the test. So the light shining through, that is fatwood. Alright, now let me set that down and grab another piece. There, you see that? That is fatwood. That's all resinated, and that's why the light shines through. This is a really thick one. That's a good inch thick right there, so I don't think we're going to see too much. But on the edges, again, there it is. There's the fatwood. So he did find fatwood, but it's not what he thought it was. Again, there's a nice piece. Alright, so what do we have here? We have, these were off the ends of some of those. Now, I picked up one just a couple minutes ago that he was pretty proud of. He thought it was a nice big chunk because it was so heavy. And here it is, and I started to split it. It's a big knot section, and you can see it had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 little branches coming off just this part of it. Here's the other side. There's more. So this was a pretty good sized knot that he managed to get off the tree, and of course I whacked it with my my beat up old hatchet that I've had for probably 30 years. And my hammer to split it open. Now again, it is wet. And you can smell the I call it turpentine, I don't know what that word is, but you can smell it. Okay, so there is this. Now you would think this would be loaded because of all those knots. Let me see if I can get in really close here. And in fact, you can see it now. There is fatwood in there. For instance, hold on here, let me move this around. There's a branch where it went in, and you can see that that has fatwood. Being solid fatwood like he had hoped, no. Cleaning this up is going to be a pain too, because it's more likely than not that most of this is just punky wet wood, and the actual parts of it that have fatwood is minimalistic. But so poor guy, he's out there freezing to death, chopping down this wood, got it all loaded up, came to my house last night, and we started splitting it up. And when I realized what it was, and I told him, I said, I think that what you have, the majority of it is simply really wet pine. We don't know what kind of pine it was. he was, no, it wasn't laying in water. And then we split one of those pieces open, and there was actually icicles inside of it. So that depressed him. He didn't want to play with it anymore. So he came back over here in his branches that he was so happy about. And here they are, you know, the section that actually attached to the outside of the stump should have, you know, fatwood in it. And in fact, it does. I mean, minimal really. So he was pretty upset about that. In the dark, like I said, he sees this color and he thinks that that's solid fatwood. Now, when you flip around the other way, let me hold it in the light, it does have some resin in it, but it is not what he had hoped it was. So I feel bad for him, because he actually did get some really good scores last week, and I had put it in a video, you know, some pictures of his actual fatwood that he found. But this, obviously, he was fooled. And here's some more of that. And that's why he thought it was solid fatwood. You see the orange? Now, I'm sure that there is, that core probably is fatwood. And then you could see it right there. The camera doesn't really want to focus well. You can see that is fatwood. So I'll be working on some of this. We decided to let it sit out here and dry, which will make it easier to get the punky wood off and actually discover how much of it actually has fatwood. So there you are, a lesson for beginning fatwood hunters, that what you think might be fatwood is probably not. It could very well be just wet wood. Let me get a piece off of one of these that I told you was fatwood and light it up and show you how it burns. So there's a center piece. Let me go over here and see if that, okay, there you can see it. So it does have resin. And again, you probably can't tell, but it's wet, very wet. And we had a hard time checking it last night because it is wet. Let me get my chair so I don't fall on my butt here. But let's show you. Excuse the mess. I tend to be a slob in the wintertime. I promised that I was going to get the garage cleaned up, and I did, and then I filled it with more crap again. That's the old dryer. It's got to go. But, yeah, I haven't come up with a brainstorm on how to organize the garage better. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Here's the piece. It's a centerpiece. And there it is in the light. That's pretty good. So let's see what it does when I do some shavings off of it. See, it's not doing anything, and yet it's see-through. So let me see here. Let me try this piece. It's very, very wet. I don't know how to show you how wet it is, but it doesn't want to light, that's for sure. Nope. Let's try again. That feels pretty dry. And I can see it. I don't know if the camera's going to pick that up. That it is Fatwood. You can see it's shiny. So let me get a scraping off of this here and pick the piece up that just fell on the floor. This also is to show you the bark is reddish colored. Here's another piece of the outside of it. You can also see that it's just got Fatwood in it. Alright, and like I said, this piece is dry as opposed to this piece. I don't know if you can, yeah, hear the sound? This is really wet. I mean, it almost feels like I could squeeze it and show you how wet this actually is. So I'm going to set that over there in that pile. This is a piece that obviously is Fatwood. You can see it. So it wasn't that he failed per se. He was fooled. So and this is punky stuff right here. I gave him all my knives, so I pretty much only have a couple little knives left to monkey around with, because I need to get a bushcraft knife, I guess. All right, we're getting down to what's in here. Let's see what it is. There. Okay, obviously not really great quality of stuff, but again, let's take a look here and see what it does. And there you go. Black smoke, it's snap, crackling, and popping. And that's Fatwood. And again, not great quality, obviously, but it is Fatwood. So he was right on, when he was searching for it, but he was mistaken on the quality of what he found, because its majority of it was wet. So now he's going to be more careful when he hunts for Fatwood. So there you have it. Fatwood fails. And even though there's obviously not the load of Fatwood he hoped for, it's still, there's going to be Fatwood here. Like I said, by the time we get done cleaning it up, which is kind of the fun part, is cleaning it up and see what you really have as far as Fatwood goes. He loves to sit here and he split up like each and every one of those little sticks. And then of course he played with the logs over there. And then there is these discs, which there's no denying that that is Fatwood. So there you go. Be careful when you're hunting Fatwood, because you might be getting wet logs, not logs that are fully impregnated. So that's today's Fatwood fail. Hopefully the next video we'll have a nice score of Fatwood.